When citizens and presidential candidates recognize and support free and fair elections, when election results are accepted, even by those who lose, authority is given to the next president to lead. Article 1 and Article 2 of the Constitution call for elections that enable the peaceful transfer of power between factions and with ratification. States and candidates agree to follow those procedures. Over time, these norms became the good faith agreement of a people united behind the country and its ideals. When George Washington, our first American president, voluntarily left office in 1797 after 2 terms, and when John Adams, our second president, let go of power in 1801 after losing re-election, the seeds of our unique democracy were sown. These presidents embarked on the American experiment and set an example to follow by choosing country over party. At other times in our history, the peaceful transfer of power was challenged but resolved by compromise and respect for the common good. Until 2020. The guardrails of precedent and tradition have held as each successive losing candidate willingly gave up power to the next president. The First Amendment ensures the right to protest and criticize results of an election. But once those arguments are lost, most of the time in a court of law, it's time to move on from protest. As Democrat Al Gore said in his 2000 concession speech to George W. Bush, "This is America. Just as we fight hard when the stakes are high, we close ranks and come together when the contest is done." In his first inaugural address, Republican President Ronald Reagan said, "The orderly transfer of authority as called for in the Constitution routinely takes place, as it has for almost 2 centuries, and few of us stop to think how unique we really are. In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle." Throughout history, including in our time, when opposing sides do not agree to a peaceful transfer of power, the potential for violence is high. The peaceful transfer of power is what we have experienced. The peaceful transfer of power is our legacy. So, this election, let's all remember and honor the norms and tradition our founders paid forward for the next generations by looking to the future with a spirit of collective unity that the peaceful transfer of power gives us. Your vote, and every vote in Pennsylvania, is critical for the election of the President of the United States. The only election that is not winner-take-all or won by a popular vote is the presidential election. The U.S. founders made a deal to protect the smaller states with a complex system to elect the president using an indirect vote and the Electoral College. Pennsylvania has 19 Electoral College votes. The number of those votes is based on the number of U.S. senators, always 2 for each state, and the number of U.S. representatives from each state. So in Pennsylvania, we have 17 U.S. representatives plus 2 senators, which equals 19 Electoral College votes. But to win nationally, a presidential candidate must gain at least 270 electoral votes. Each state has its own number of Electoral College votes. When a presidential candidate wins the popular vote in Pennsylvania, all of the electoral votes go to that candidate. The Constitution explains the role of the Electoral College, so learn more from reliable sources. Pennsylvania is considered one of 5 or 6 swing states where the election is expected to be very close. Your vote will matter more now than ever in 2024, so make your voice heard by voting in the primary election on April 23rd and the general election on November 5th. If you believe you have registered to vote, but your name is not in the poll book, or if the Elections Division cannot verify your registration, or if in a primary election you feel you have registered in a different political party, or even if the poll book says you already received a mail-in ballot, but you didn't use it, you have the option to vote with a provisional ballot. You can track if your ballot was counted with a provisional ballot receipt you will receive at the polling place. If your eligibility is verified by the Elections Division following the election and you have no other vote than with your provisional ballot, it will count. If you are at your polling place and told you are in the wrong district, also called a precinct, you will have the option of voting with a provisional ballot, or you can check your voter status at vote.pa.gov and go to your correct polling place to vote. The barcode on the left-hand side of your ballot ties it to your specific district. If you choose to vote in the wrong district with a provisional ballot, during the review process after the election, the only votes that will count are those for candidates who are also on your own district's ballot. For example, the federal and state candidates in this election. Other local candidates, like in a municipal election, or candidates specifically tied to your own district's ballot will not be counted, so it's really important to vote in the correct polling place. It's a poll worker's job to help voters exercise their right to vote. If you are registered in another county and try to vote in the wrong county, you have the option of voting with a provisional ballot. However, during the review process, that ballot will not count at all because you need to be registered in the correct county. So it's really important that you are proactive, like if you are a student and moved away from home, to make sure your voter registration is up to date so that your vote will count. If it's your first time voting, or you're voting for the first time in your new polling place, the poll book will say ID required, and poll workers will ask you to show approved photo or non-photo ID. If you have the option and desire to run home to get your ID, when you return to your polling place, you can vote with a regular ballot. If you choose to vote without the required ID, you have the option of casting a provisional ballot. After the election, the Elections Division will verify that you are an eligible voter, and if you are, your provisional ballot will count. You can go to vote.pa.gov for the list of approved ID. If you need help to acquire the approved ID, votewriters.org can help with the costs. Call 844-338-8743. If there is a need for you to cast a provisional ballot at your polling place, you'll complete a special form and get a receipt so that you can track your ballot online. Your provisional ballot will be tallied separately from the other ballots in your polling place. Your vote by provisional ballot will be counted during the after-election processing if they find that you are an eligible voter and have not already returned a ballot. The review process makes sure that eligible voters vote only once. The news media will often call an election using a mathematical analysis even before all of the in-person and mail-in votes are counted, but eligible provisional ballots are always counted as part of the official certified results. If you requested a mail-in ballot but now you want to vote in person at your polling place, the easiest and best thing to do is take the mail-in ballot envelope you received from the County Election Division, including the entire contents in that envelope, and surrender your ballot. Then you will be able to vote with a regular ballot at your polling place. If you don't have the mail-in ballot or have discarded or misplaced parts of the contents of that ballot envelope you received, you can't vote with a regular ballot, but you can vote with a provisional ballot at your polling place. If during the review process after Election Day, it is verified that you did not cast a ballot with your mail-in ballot that you received and that you are an eligible voter, your vote will count. During the review process, they want to make sure that you only voted one time. If you returned your mail-in ballot on time but by Election Day, you did not receive notification that it was received by the Elections Division, you can vote with a provisional ballot at your polling place. When possible, poll workers may contact the Elections Division to check if your mail-in ballot was received. However, you can always vote with a provisional ballot, Your vote will be counted during the after-election processing if they find that you are an eligible voter and have not already returned a ballot. The review process makes sure that eligible voters vote only once. If you gave your email address when you applied for a mail-in ballot, you can track your ballot at PA Voter Services. Hey Pennsylvania, 2024 is a presidential election. In Pennsylvania, we have elections every year, twice a year. When there is an election for the President of the United States, although turnout isn't as high as it should be, compared to other elections, more people turn out to vote. But many voters don't vote for the other candidates running for the other offices or voting down ballot. This 2024 election will decide who will run our U.S. Congress and state legislature. While the president is responsible for the direction of the country through administration and presidential executive actions, it's the legislation passed by elected members of the U.S. Congress, as well as those elected officials in the Pennsylvania General Assembly, those Pennsylvania senators and representatives that make those laws, and you elect them. If you sit out an election or you don't vote down ballot, your non-vote for a candidate you most align with may not win the seat. You are the key to getting legislation passed and getting stuff done that you agree with by voting for the people who support those ideas. So besides voting for the president, vote down ballot too. In the Pennsylvania 2024 elections, we are voting for the president, vice president, 1 U.S. senator, and 17 U.S. representatives in Congress. And for the Pennsylvania General Assembly, we are electing 25 Pennsylvania senators and all 203 Pennsylvania representatives, including some statewide officials. In Pennsylvania, the primary election in 2024 is Tuesday, April 23rd, and the general election is Tuesday, November 5th. Hey, it's that time again to vote. 2024 is a presidential election year. Now is not the time to be cynical. Remember, whether you vote or not, someone is getting elected. As a citizen of the United States, you have the right to vote. Voting is power, so exercise your power, make your voice heard, and vote, and bring your friends and family. And remember, lots of people fought so that you have the right to vote. We owe it to them to honor their sacrifice by voting. In 2024, the primary election is April 23rd, and the general election is November 5th. If you are an eligible voter, it means that you are at least 18 years old, a citizen of the United States for at least 30 days, and a Pennsylvania resident for at least 30 days if you're voting in Pennsylvania, and that your voter registration has been approved. Sometimes a voter's eligibility is challenged in their polling place, but all voters have the right to cast either a regular or a provisional ballot. A correctly cast provisional ballot by an eligible voter will count just as a regular ballot. Within 7 days after the election, the Elections Division will verify whether the voter casting a provisional ballot was eligible and that their vote was counted.